Good afternoon. My name is Andrea Daniels, an Our Book of the Rainmaker, Exactly What to Say certified guide. Excited to have a nice, fun little conversation this afternoon with my co host, Miss Nicole Kramer. I also call her Professor Kramer since she's a former teacher. Nicole, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, and I'd also like to make sure everybody knows the conversation we're about to have, and we want you to join in with us because this is a really pressing conversation, right? There's everything in the world right now has two really big letters in it, AI. Everybody's talking about AI. And there's two other really important letters, EI. And that's not exactly what we're going to talk about, AI versus EI, but we're going to use that conversation to help you see where your sales are going to be impacted. Yeah, Alan, you talking about practice? We're talking about important things over here, and you're talking about practice. But it is so important to see where the impact of these things is in our most important conversations, which, if you're a business owner, sales professional, entrepreneur, whatever you call yourself, you're in sales. Are you making sure that you have what it takes to get the outcome you want in a world that we live in of AI?
So
So,
with increased automation, increased artificial intelligence, increased, you see it on social media where someone just makes a video of what someone looked like, and you just see it moving so quickly. And of course, we want to be part of the artificial intelligence train, which can get us into conversations through automations of text message, emails, and we can get people interested. However, when AI has to transition to EI being emotional intelligence, that's where Nicole would like to share where it can get a little sticky.
yeah, I think there were a lot of really fun analogies that I came up with that, in full transparency, Andrea won't let me use. But I think what is happening is we're attracting people into our world in certain ways. And then when it comes time for us to actually communicate in real life with people, are we showing up with the skills it takes to help someone make a decision? Or are we showing up to those conversations just hoping somebody wants to make the decision that we want them to make? Which, even saying that, I think you're still way too attached to the outcome. But ultimately, the goal of a sales professional, of anybody selling anything, is not to sell them something, it's to help them get to clarity. And we need to be able to guide the conversation, and your words are either helping or hurting. There is absolutely no neutral. So you're either getting somebody closer to clarity or pulling them further away from clarity. And nobody wants to be stuck in maybe land. Nobody wants to be stuck, period. So the skills that you need to show up with to a conversation are skills like helping somebody take a step in a direction, not just stay where they are. And I think what Andrea is alluding to is one of our phrases that we like to teach in this influence program that we run. And it's a phrase that lets you tell people what to do without telling them what to do, because nobody wants to be told what to do. However, it would be a lot helpful in life if we knew how to make recommendations that made it very easy for somebody to take the next step. And, people are a lot like sheep. They like going where the herd goes. And if you're questioning that on any level, then ask yourself, when was the last time you bought something on Amazon that you read the reviews for?
Every
When was
time.
the last time somebody suggested a new restaurant for you to go to and you went and looked it up on Yelp or their Google business page to see what others? I'm going on Wednesday night with a group of people to dinner. And I went straight to Yelp to look it up and see what other people thought about it before I made the recommendation that that's where we go. So how do we tell somebody what to do without telling them what to do? That's one of so many skills. And it's not about bossing people around or strong arming them, because this isn't manipulation. This is influence. And when you develop the skills to be able to guide a conversation, then you have more control over the outcomes and you're able to help more people.
Yeah. And, when you say most people, people are either going to decide, I don't want to be like most people, or they're going to want to know what most people do. Most people will read Yelp reviews and believe that before they believe the restaurant, or Google reviews, or, calling a friend or asking a friend. So when you use most people, people are going to subconsciously identify with either version of it. And Nicole, I was thinking of you about the analogy. You're going to like this. All show and no go. So just imagine you're like, oh, well, that guy or that girl, they're pretty cute. And then they open their mouth and you're like, ooh, that's not what we want to be in our sales conversations. We don't want to get them in with, using artificial intelligence, cool videos, cool one-liners. And then once they get in the conversation with us, the audio doesn't match the video. So that's, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, what's coming through for me, you and I will both appreciate this, Andrea, and probably so many of our friends who are watching with us will, because if you like us, you're probably a dog lover too. What I think of is all bark and no bite, right? Like the dog's like, "Rrr." I mean, you've heard Cassie, my dog, Cassie, wherever she is back here. She is like the sweetest thing in the world if you actually are in person and sit next to her. But if you heard her, if you're the Amazon guy and you're on the other side of the door from me, you might think that she would rip your face off. And so I think that's how a lot of people are hoping and trusting that their messaging, their outgoing messaging is showing up for them, but then they aren't able to take somebody across the finish line when it comes down to it, because having that influence in an actual conversation is maybe not the skills that most people have taken the time to develop.
Yeah. And that's one of the biggest things when I walked into, I've said this before online, I walked into Phil certification in January of 2023, thinking I was the bee's knees. I was a star student, read the book. I knew all the phrases, but what wasn't taught in the book and that is taught in the certification is getting the deeper level of conversation, understanding the framework of why it works, how to maneuver it to help someone make a decision, whether that's you or not you. So I think the deeper it's like, yeah, before I met Phil, and the reason I cold called him is because the phrases were working, but I only had surface level, had real surface levels, having some quick wins. I didn't know how to go even deeper with the material that I obviously know now how to do today through some of this work. So I think people are getting the quick wins with the book and some of the surface level material to really convert at a high level. You don't need more leads. You need to do better with the leads that you have. And you can automate some things. I mean, I write auto plans, smart plans, drip campaigns myself. And I can write those all day, but if you don't know how to convert the lead once they get on the phone with you or once you get in person with them, did I really help you? I found some hand raisers, some people, engaging with you through the AI and like connecting through automation. But what's going to help that person be seen, heard, and understood?
I think what comes to my mind as we're talking about it is, the story, Andrea, many years ago, my first workshop that I taught, one of my clients who took it used some of what she learned in the workshop in her outgoing email to her list. And she used a magic phrase in the subject line. And before lunchtime, her open rate shot up to over 60%. And that was a higher open rate that she'd ever had, even in an all day period before, with sending things out. Now, this would be a perfect example. Now, fortunately, she also closed some sales from that. But if you were that person and maybe just trying, like throwing spaghetti at a wall and seeing what sticks, and something great happens, you've got 60% of your list now opening your email. They're responding. They're like, yeah, cool. This sounds great. You're like, cool, let's jump on a call. And you get on that call. Have you developed the skills that you need to help guide that person through a decision on that call? And the decision is not yes. The decision is not no. The decision is yes or no, but to get them out of where they're at right now. Cassie's having dreams behind me. I don't know if you can hear it. She is. And otherwise, you're just as stuck as they are. Like, okay, cool. You got people right here, but can you get them to the next step with the skills of influence and knowing how to? And it's not just, I'll say the same thing that we talked about on Friday with our group, Andrea, that we were talking to. It's not about knowing the freaking magic phrase, because if I love you was what made people fall in love with you, then all people would have to say is I love you to get somebody to love them. Thank God it doesn't work that way, or woo, would we be in a lot of weird situations,
relationships,
people, if all they had to do was say I love you. So it's not about use this phrase and it works every time. Like, God forbid, if I had that phrase, I'd sell it for billions of dollars and call it a day. It's about how you are building, how you are showing up as a version of you that maybe doesn't yet exist, because there's skills, there's muscles to build that helps you show up with more emotional intelligence.
Yeah. It's who am I serving and what am I solving? Like Nicole said, it's not a yes, or it doesn't matter if they say yes or no. It's helping that person get to a decision. And that's what sales is, helping someone else make the decision that, and you may or may not be right for them.
Yeah.
And you have to be okay not being tied to that outcome, saying, I want them to hire me. I want to work with them. It's not about you. It's about them. And if you're showing up with a servant's mind and really serving your client in a sales capacity, you are making the decision. Am I helping solve their problem, even if it's not me? And I think that's a big piece, because people are like, oh, sounds persuasive and manipulative. No, we're helping the other person make a decision. That's what we're doing. Do the magic words help because it speaks directly to their subconscious? Absolutely. But if you think about what the material teaches you, is you get to a point in a conversation where you can say, based on the fact that you said X, I'd recommend Y. And most people, Nicole, and you'd agree with me, most people are not even getting close. We've run too many role plays in the hot seat. They're not even getting close to being able to say that in their conversations. Yeah, you're giggling because you know I'm right. We sit there and we cringe a little bit sometimes. I'm like, stop trying to get married on the first date. Stop trying to close the deal. Stop saying could be possible at the wrong time, right? They're not doing the work to gain the context before making a recommendation. And just when you think you've asked enough, ask 5 more questions. We're laughing because we see it all the time. So
Andrea and I have done a lot of years of role play experience with a lot of people. And I can assure you that when you might think you're being helpful, and you might not even realize your idea or perception of what you think is helpful is actually the very thing that's not. I'll share this quick story. This happened to me recently with someone I was inquiring about their services. And, our job as salespeople is not to get a yes. It's to make it easier for that person to take the next step, make the next step and the next step and the next step easy. God forbid we live in a world of like, you need 78 touch points before somebody even responds to you, right? So we do live in a world where nurturing and touch points are important, and making it easy to take those next steps is important. What happened is when I reached out to this person about her services, she dumped a whole long, like 3 or 4 paragraph email on me with a bunch of attachments. She's like, here's why we're the best. Here's why we're so great. Here's this attachment. Here's that attachment. Here's all these things. And she's a dear, sweet person. So this is not meant to like make her a bad person or make her out to be wrong. It's just, it didn't give any space for the conversation to continue, because what I didn't ask for was a homework assignment. What I didn't ask for is to do all the heavy lifting myself to figure out the next step. What I didn't ask for is for her to embellish the shit out of what she was presenting to me. But what would have made it really easy for me to take another step is for her to stay curious, seek to connect and understand more, and maybe just ask me a simple question. Great. What would be most helpful for you to learn about this question that you had? I'm not going to reveal too much information because I don't want the person to be like, what? But like, we're all doing this and not realizing it. You're thinking you're making it. Oh, look, oh my God, this person was interested. They want to know this information. I'm going to dump all this information on them. I was like, hey, nobody got time for that. I've got 17 other emails I've got to respond to and more pressing things that I don't, most people, we are interrupting their day for long enough that they might give us a little bit more of their attention. Make it worth their while, because if it feels way more pressing to go spend their time somewhere else and this thing doesn't feel urgent, they're going to. And that's what it was for me. It wasn't an urgent request. It could have been made more urgent if it had been handled the right way. Maybe I would have given more of my attention to it in that moment, but it felt like a homework assignment. It felt like a lot of heavy lifting, and it felt like, you know what, things are fine. In that area of my business, things are fine. I've normalized it. That's where everybody's sitting. We've got to create the urgency in someone's mind by knowing how to communicate. And when we communicate in the right way, it makes them give more of their attention to it. They're getting more attention from us, and they have a reason to say, you know what, tell me more. I do want to meet with you. I do want to learn more about this. But a lot of times we're cutting it off when we think we're being helpful.
Yep.
Most people are cutting it off. And when I say
Well,
cutting it off, I mean the conversation itself. You're not giving somebody an easy next step.
yeah, I mean, because they don't. People think, and truth on this, people think they're helping by information dumping. If you give a lot of content without context, it can be overwhelming. And if we are in such an efficient world and everything's moving so quickly, if you info dump and you spray and pray, you're not gonna land. Like I always say, you don't need more leads. You need to do better with the ones that you have. So if you just take the time to ask a few questions to pre-qualify them for yourself or for them, and I know we went off on a tangent between AI and EI, it's gonna your sales conversations are going to be different. You're gonna sound different than everyone else who's hawking the same goods and services if you take the time to slow down a little bit. And if you take the time to make sure your emails look like they're actually written instead of you throw them in ChatGPT, has all these emojis and bloom, 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 right? Less is more.
I think also because you said this so well, Andrea, they don't need more information. Us rushing to give information, it's like you're competing with ChatGPT. Nobody needs the information that you're giving. They can find it. It's everywhere. So quit trying to sound like everyone else or like ChatGPT or competing against it by just dumping information on somebody, and learn how to help someone make a decision using your words. That's what a lot of people aren't able to do, is guide the conversation, have influence with how you communicate, because you understand how the subconscious brain works. And you understand when you can talk to that part of the brain, you're able to help somebody move through, stepping through a process, versus hoping you're saying the right thing. Again, it's like, if I just say I love you, that'll give me the result that I want. And that
No, well,
isn't
I
going
tried
to
it.
work that way. I love you. I love you. I love you. No. Yeah, it's like it's if the words worked by themselves, we'd all just say words and it would work. But we've got to know how to approach a conversation, what version of us we are becoming, so that we have more influence, that we're understanding what we're actually doing in the sales process, and we know what to do and what to say and how to make it count, so that we are creating the outcomes. Because when we're able to do that, we're actually helping more people, which is what this is all about.
Yep.
And the
Right.
good news is we have a really fun way for you to learn those skills. If a skill set of influence and communicating at a higher level is important to you, if you're ready to let ChatGPT be your tool and you'll use it in the areas where it supports you, but you know that the best version of you is the best thing for you to work on, we have a way for you to do that with us starting this week. You'll be learning some very valuable phrases and methodologies that are going to help you have more influence in your life in every area. So
Leadership, sales, with your kids, with your significant other,
yeah,
in your social media, in your emails, in your marketing, and then once one it's not just, and I always say this, Nicole, before we sign off, it's not just the initial conversation, it's the micro conversations that lead to the bigger ask.
Yeah.
That's what most people are missing by just reading the book and not going deeper with the work.
Well, let's use another analogy. Everybody wants a hole in one. Yeah, don't we all? How likely is a hole in one? And if you're showing up and you're thinking that, every conversation should lead to a sale or a deal, then you are the reason that your micro conversations aren't converting, because you're not looking at them as micro conversations. You're looking at each one as, I've got to knock it out of the park on this one. And knocking it out of the park shouldn't be your ultimate goal. That's why we also talk about a lot of things like levels of success and the work before the work, and how you approach this. Isn't just, hey, join us for 16 weeks and we'll teach you these magic phrases. That's weird and manipulative and slimy and gross. We're not going to teach you phrases that work because they don't work. They work because of how you work them. And if you stop looking for, a hole in one every time, and you understand those micro conversations are where you win, then you're able to show up a lot differently and a lot more influentially. Is that even a word, or are we just making
You can
things
show
up?
up more influentially. Like one of the biggest things, and I don't want to keep us longer, is people like, oh my God, how do I get back in the conversation? I was like, well, if you were doing the work, you would have known how to end the first conversation to get in this conversation. You won't be asking me how to get back in the game.
How do you never leave the conversation?
How do you never leave the game? How do you always keep the ball in play? How do you not leave the ball in their court? We can have lots of analogies. And I get asked that repeatedly. Oh my God, how do I get back in this conversation? I was like, well, how'd you leave the last conversation? These aren't siloed conversations. Are they standalone conversations? Yes, but they should be linking together if you're doing your job right. And if you're using the next step is in the book, you're welcome. But we're not going to share all the secrets today. You have to join us for that.
Come join us. Reach out if you're curious about the details, wanting to learn anything else. If you're a fan of Exactly What to Say and you want to go deeper, this could be a great fit for you. If you don't know what Exactly What to Say is, but you want to know exactly what to say, this could be a great fit for you. We'd love to hear from you and answer any questions you have. So the link is in the comments. Reach out to us if you can't find it. We will see you all tomorrow. Share a comment if anything resonated. See y'all soon. Hi, I'm Nicole Kramer.
And I'm Andrea Ferry Daniels.
And we are Exactly What to Say certified guides. And we are so thrilled to announce that we are coming back with an incredible program for you called Exactly What to Say. And the people that are perfect for this opportunity are professionals in their industry that are looking to up-level how they show up to the critical moments that matter in their life.
If you're interested in this program, the link is in the comments below, or feel free to reach out to Nicole or I directly through Instagram or phone call.
We'd love to see you there.